should be one over there.
All right, are you guys ready?
Yes, we are.
Ready
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Before we get started with the cooking program, I wanted to remind you to keep checking our website for new virtual programs. We have a lot of awesome authors coming up this fall, including 2 this week. Tomorrow, we have Eric J. Dolan, who is the author of A Furious Sky, The 500-Year History of America's Hurricanes, tomorrow at 7 p.m. And then we have Ken McNabb, author of And in the End Days, The Last Days of the Beatles, on Wednesday at 7. We also have another cooking demonstration coming up early next month on Tuesday, September 8th at 7 p.m. with Chef Johnny Schulz of the Bourbon Street Barrel Room. Registration is already open for that, so make sure you get signed up. So tonight, I'm happy to introduce Chef John Taylor from Akron's popular Lock 15 Brewing Company.
Hi, everybody.
Demonstrating how to cook shrimp and grits. Chef John is a graduate of the Pennsylvania Culinary School and has over 20 years of experience in the hospitality industry. He's the 2011 winner of the Best Chef in the Real Men Cook competition in California and a 2018 People's Choice Award for the March of Dimes. We also have a special guest appearance tonight from Jody Delmater, who many of you know from previous cooking programs at the library. Say hi, Jody. Hi, guys. Tonight, Jody will be in the kitchen with Chef John, giving us a live taste test and commentary. Please remember to keep your microphones off during the program to eliminate background noise. If you have any questions for the chef during the program, please send them in the chat, and I will go ahead and relay those over to the chef. So if Chef John is ready, we'll go ahead and get cooking.
Awesome. I'm ready as I'll ever be. So hi, everybody. Welcome to Lock 15. Thank you, Jody and Allison, for giving me this opportunity to show one of our best dishes that we have here. We're going to teach you how to make our shrimp and grits from start to finish today. The first thing we're going to do is get our cream going for our grits. So everybody at home should have got a recipe that is broken down for a half of what we're going to do here. So what I'm going to make today is a bulk recipe to get us started for our prep list tomorrow. What you have at home could probably feed you for a day and a half to 2 days with the grits you're going to make, and then anything else you want to add to it, okay? So the best thing about our grits is it has a lot of fat in it. We love fat here. It's flavor. So we're going to start off with 2 quarts of heavy cream, 2 quarts of half and half. And the reason why we want to start all this liquid off is we want to bring it up to a simmer so it helps cook the grits, and the grits will absorb all that. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to get that started with our grits and water, corn, and jalapenos. And then once I get down to the jalapenos, I'm going to show everybody how to do a clean a jalapeno, dice it, and get it in there, okay? So we're going to get our cream in there. Oh, and when you do this, you want to make sure you have a big enough pot, and you want to do it on about a medium heat, okay? So that's heat, full blast, and then I just turn it down accordingly. Okay. So how's everybody doing today?
We're all doing good.
Good. All right, so that's our 2 quarts of heavy whipping cream, and you can use either 36% or 40%. We usually use 36% fat to cream ratio in our brewery here, and then half and half is just the standard half and half. Okay, so you get that in there. For us, it's 1 cup of jalapenos. I think for you guys, it would be a half a cup of jalapenos, I think. So get that in there. 6 cups of corn. Now, to really make this a really sweeter dish, you can literally take corn from the husk that you get from a farmer's market or from your local corn farmer and really skin that off. Take the corn kernels off the corn cob itself and use that. Okay, so we add this in there.
We have a question for you.
Yes.
Is a Cambro a special type of pot?
No, a Cambro is this container right here. Okay, every kitchen that has them, it basically says 1 quart, 2 quart. This is a 4 quart Cambro, and they're awesome because you can put liquid in them. You put your prep product in them. They're great for storage. They have sealable lids, so you can do These are phenomenal. These are kitchen savers. Before it's cooked. So the corn you want to use, if you take it off the corn cob, you can take it right off there raw because it's going to cook in this cream mixture, okay? And then we're going to add our 2 quarts of water. Okay. And then we're going to bring that up to a simmer. Once it comes up to a simmer, I'll show you how we add our corn grits, which we have our corn grits in right here, just so you two can see. Okay. We have our corn grits here, and there's water in those grits. That water's in there so we can reconstitute the corn grits, and then the sediment that you don't want in your grits is actually coming to the top, and we're going to strain that out once the cream comes to a simmer.
So you just want to cover those grits with water is the only amount.
Just want to go about to your first, to your first knuckle. These have already been soaking. So if you look, first knuckle right there to the water, just to come over that so that sediment can rise to the top. Okay. All right. So now whenever you're touching any hot peppers, jalapenos, habaneros, Fresnos, always wear gloves. That way, if you have to touch your face, whatever, you can take the glove off and you're not going to burn yourself. Okay, so if you have 4 of these, if you make a big batch like we do here at Lock 15, 4 of these will do 1 cup of diced jalapenos. All right, if you have the smaller ones, sometimes, because they're not in season, you get real small ones. You're looking at like 6 to 7 of those to make a cup, okay? All right, so you take the stem off, cut it right down the middle, and then you got 2 halves. Now, I just like to take my thumb right here. See where you got that half moon? Okay, take your thumb, hold it over the garbage can, take your seeds right out. Okay, now if you want to make your jalapeno corn grits spicier, leave the seeds in. That'll do it. And that's with any pepper. Okay, look, nice and easy and done. Okay, now to get nice dicing on any vegetable, you want to julienne it. When we come down to the shallots, it's like cutting an onion. So there's another technique you can do there. So holding a knife, depending on what size your knife is, you always want to, choke up on it a little bit. Put your thumb there. That way you have better control of the knife. Okay. So you can go nice motions. Okay. Get your julienne strips together. Okay, and you notice my thumb is behind my 2 fingertips, and my blade is going right off of here. That way I don't cut my thumb off, okay? So the same technique goes to the other half. Okay. Always clean the back of your knife to make sure there's nothing on there. Make them all even. And there you go, okay? So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to add this in to the jalapeno corn grits. It's not going to change the flavor. We love spice here. The more spicier the food, the more they drink.
Here's another question for you. How often do you sharpen your knives?
Okay, so I try to sharpen our knives here. And my staff has yelled at me the last couple weeks. I try to do it every 2 weeks. But what we have here is a steel, which what it does is sometimes your knife, the blade of your knife will, as it's cutting and going on the cutting boards, the blade is like this to be sharp, and then it gets ridges on it. So then what you do here is every time you cut something different, you should steel it. Okay? And that's going to bring an edge back to the knife. Okay? And once that edge comes back, then your knife, it stays sharper longer. This is daily care for your knife. You should do this as often as possible. If you go from cutting a potato to a shallot, steel your knife. If you go from cutting a tomato to a scallion, steel your knife because it's different textures, it's different weights, it's different skins that you're cutting against. Okay.
You want to show them how to steel your knife a little slower so they can understand?
Yeah, so I'll go slower. Sorry. So you take the butt of your knife right here, 45-degree angle, and come down on it, and that hits the whole blade. You're using the whole steel.
Perfect.
Okay. Now, here's Summer. Follow me over here. We do have another steel, which is like it has a little bit rougher grates on it. So this has a little bit more ridges in it, and this actually really gets that blade down. It's like a diamond edge sharpener or steel. Okay. So same thing, 45 degrees. You're gonna hear it's gonna sound different. It's really getting onto that blade. And that's how you do it. So, and this knife that I'm using is a Shun, S-H-U-N. It's a Japanese knife. So they're a lot lighter than most German steel knives, and their steel is a lot different. German knives tend to take more of a beating than Japanese knives, and they also tend to, they're a little bit more, I don't want to say brittle, but if they drop, more tendency to chip a Japanese knife than you are a German knife. Okay, so now we're going to check our cream. I'm going to turn this up just a tad. Okay, and the one thing you want to do is with this, just use a whisk. And what I'm doing is I'm just trying to make sure nothing is sticking to the bottom and everything's evenly distributed in there into the cream. Okay, and I forgot to add one thing. So we have to add actually two things. Our salt and pepper, which is a 1/3 cup for us, add that in there. And then, yes, again, I'm adding some hot sauce. Now, it's only 2 teaspoons of hot sauce for us, but that's just enough to give it a little bit of a bite that you have to be looking for the hot sauce to taste it.
We had a question. Can you use roasted jalapenos instead of fresh?
Yes, everything. So the great thing about grits, and you know, for a lot of people that might not understand it, you can say it's the southern version of polenta, which is the Italian version of grits. But you can go either way. You can make a polenta cake, you can make a grit cake. Just different flavors, different areas, different regions where they were used from. The one thing that Summer and I have done prior to this, we've made a cheddar grit cake. We've made a jalapeno corn grit cake. The only difference is how long you have to let once we add the grits, how long you let that reduce, because you want to get that into the pan and you want it to stay firmer. Because for the grit cake, you're either going to put it on the flat top or the fryer to give it some texture and everything to it. So you can add anything in here to really enhance that flavor of the grits. White cheddar, cheddar cheese. You can add the Fresnos to it. You can add habaneros. Anything you want to do. You can literally use roasted corn in here instead of the corn that we're using, and that will change the flavor also. So you can actually make these into Mexican street corn grits, and that is by adding some chili powder, some cilantro, some cojita cheese, and you really have a Mexican street corn grit right there. So there's a lot of variables and techniques and flavors you can add to that. Okay. All right.
If you want it to be less spicy, how would you make it less spicy? Maybe can you use less jalapeno or a different spice?
Yes. So everybody thinks these are spicy. They're actually, this is not spicy at all. It's full of flavor. But to whenever you want to tone down the spice of any dish that has something in there that you may think is spicy, add less. Okay. So right now it calls for a cup. If you think it's too spicy, you can add a 1/2 cup. If you think that's going to be too much for you. If you want it more spicy, add stuff. You can add a pinch of cayenne in here, a teaspoon of cayenne to really kick up that flavor. And that all depends on what region you are in the South and up here to really determine what type of spice you want. Okay. All right. So now, as you can see here, the water is starting to be absorbed into the grits. So it's actually being absorbed, which is good. And you can start to see the sediment coming up. So we probably got another like 5-10 minutes on these grits, which I'm really excited for because I really want to talk about this product. Here at Lock 15, we try to do our best to locally source as many of our products that we can. And one of the things that we take a lot of pride in is where we get a lot of our produce and some of our commodity items from Ohio. So we actually get our grits from Shagbark Farms, which is in Defiance County, Ohio. So if you know where Defiance County is, this is where we definitely get our corn grits from. And we also get our corn tortillas from them also. Local product, locally grown, and this is a complete organic product. It is certified organic, and they also, I printed out some stuff for you. They also have organic pinto beans. They do their own tortilla chips, and then we have their grits. Okay, so this is from the great state of Ohio, and we are proud to serve them here. We put them in our grits. We do, like I said, we've had grit cakes and everything else. The other product that I want to talk about that we're going to get to later, and I'll show you how to cut those, is our sweet baby tomatoes that come out of Toledo, Ohio. So these are I guess you would say hydroponically grown, Summer?
Yes.
Yeah, they come from
they're
greenhouse grown. Greenhouse grown, and the flavor stays consistent all through. And this is the the multicolored, rainbow colors. You have the heirloom style. So great flavor. They have a great sweetness to them, a great bite, and they actually handle the shrimp and grit dish that we use them for. We put them in a lot of our other dishes. We don't use a lot of tomato product in here except for these, because these are phenomenal and consistent, and I can get them all year round.
They also are very sweet.
Yes, which actually helps with the shrimp and grits. It goes with our Cajun. That really gives it a nice balance in our dish. And then we have our Swiss chard right here. This is what we got. We normally use rainbow chard, so I'm going to show you how we're going to use this in our dish, and then scallions for our garnish. And then one thing I want to show you is this is our house-made Cajun seasoning. So we make all of our seasonings in-house that we put on our. So we have a dry rub Cajun, our Caribbean, our cumin, our salt pepper mix, our pork rub, our barbecue rub is all made in-house. We buy the ingredients, the spices that we need, and we follow our standard recipe that the staff and I have worked with, and we're proud of that. We try to do everything in-house that we can. All right, so again, we just got to wait on these bad boys, this liquid to come up to simmer.
Someone was wondering earlier where you can buy the steel to sharpen the knife. Where you buy those at?
Where we buy the what?
The steel knife. Where can you buy a steel knife?
Okay,
or the steel for the knife?
So
in the sharpener. Yeah.
You can go to Restaurant Depot. You can go to GFS store. You can go to
Amazon has some really nice ones.
Amazon. Western Reserve Cooking School. And then there's a tool store that sells these, because a lot of mechanics and stuff they use these for the same thing to keep all their stuff sharp too. So you could definitely get this anywhere. Amazon has some great deals. You can buy a set with Amazon. They may not have this exact one, but you can get a set of this, and then it might have like the diamond edge one or the more rigid edge one. So you can definitely get those anywhere. And then the Shuns. Shun has a great website. I got mine from William and Sonoma at Strongsville Mall, but now they're closed. So now I order my Shuns offline, or I'm trying to get a catalog in here to order them from the catalog. I love the Japanese knives. I do use my German knives for heavier stuff, for like butchering meat, cutting through racks and all that stuff. But yeah, I really try to use both, and they both have different aspects that they're better at than the others. So, okay, so I'm gonna go through the strainer because I forgot the strainer. So
there's that one over there.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna strain these grits. Necessity.
Can you repeat the question for us?
The question was, how did he start getting the idea to cook?
My grandmother back in the 80s was known as the Pizza Queen of Ohio. She worked at Rini Rigo's, and she comes from a very big Italian family. And every time there was a family reunion, everybody knows that Italians have family reunions. They all cooked. There was rarely anything ever brought in. They did all the cooking, and I was really fascinated by that. So I always stayed in the kitchen with her and her sisters as long as I possibly could to learn as much as I could. And then once I got discharged from the military, I went to culinary school. So as you can see, I'm trying to drain as much of the water out as possible from the top, and you can see all the sediment that is on the strainer. I'm trying not to get any of the good stuff on there. A little bit fell in there, but.
How long do we soak these for?
I usually soak them for 10 to 15 minutes. And as you can see, there's hardly any water left in that container. Okay, and all the sediment that doesn't need to go in the grits is right here, and you just discard that. Okay. thing about grits, everybody, is grits are versatile. It's like a mashed potato. You can add any flavor. You can use different techniques, but you have to get them to really soak up the flavor profile that you have in there. So the cream and butter is a start. You have to have that going in there. You can add wine to that. You can add chicken stock to that if you really want to kick up that flavor. There's a lot of ways you can enhance grits going to the table. I know a lot of people serve them when they put them on the plate. They hit them with a pat of butter, and that butter just melts around the rim. They add bacon and maple syrup to them. I mean, it's good for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So I don't know, Summer, if you can see it, but you can see the grit starting. The cream starting to steam up. So they're about another 5 minutes. This is going to be ready. Then we're going to get the grits now. We're going to really talk about what that does. Okay.
What about, we had a question, what was the ratio on the salt and pepper mixture?
Oh, we do a 75-25 mixture, salt to pepper. So salt is 75%, the pepper is 25%. And we use iodized salt, and then I think it's table grind black pepper. We use a little, the stuff that you would grind, so we get that in there in bulk and make our mixture out of that. I like that texture. I love the flavor you get from pepper. Again, we are in a brewery, so we are literally trying to get people to not just have one beer, but to try another beer, to really match our food with the beers and get that pairing going. That's where you really find the uniqueness of what we do here, because we have 3 to 4 beers that we can pair very nicely with our shrimp and grits. So if I can find that list.
Did we leave it over there at the bar?
I think I have it memorized. So the one beer that we have here is a 1913 Pilsner. It's crisp, and it's very light, and it's phenomenal. Then over here we have my favorite wine that we have in house is the Volve, and that is a phenomenal wine. That is, how would you describe that, Summer? Sweet.
It's sweet, but it's not too, it doesn't sit on your tongue like a lot of sweet wines do. It's got that nice little, nice finish.
Light, yeah.
It's light. Yeah. Yeah, it's very summery.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to check these one more time. We just got to bring this liquid up to a simmer. Once it comes up to a simmer, we can definitely add in the grits, and then we're going to be watching the grits for a while, and then we're going to prep the stuff for the dish. Okay, so first thing we're just get all this prepped, and that way once the grits are done, we can go. All right, so now stems. We're not going to put the stem in there, but what we do with our stems is we put them back and we pickle these stems that go on our veggie board and charcuterie board, right, Summer? So we pickle these, and we add a little cornstarch. That was a tip we got from Jeremy and Lizzie to really keep the color and that freshness to them. All right, now you can do a rough chop, but since these are big, I just take, you try to keep it all together, right? And if you have to, if some of them loose, you roll them down there. Take your knife and go down there, right down there. Okay, and again, remember, knuckles, thumb behind it, and chop. And then that gives us what we're going to need for the 2 shrimp and grits that we're going to be tasting here. I'm just going to put the prepped items on this board right here so we know. Yes. So this is Summer's interpretation of the shrimp and grits. So Jody asked a great question. So with our shrimp and grits, we don't change anything but the green that's in there. So the first round that we had for the first 2 menus that we had here at Line 15, we used spinach. So spinach adds spinach wilts a little bit better. It really gets into there and picks up that flavor. This stays a little bit firmer and gives you that another crunch that Summer was looking for in the shrimp and grits. The next green that we're going to be using for the next version for fall winter, we're going to be using baby kale in there. So the baby kale that we have is purple and green, so it's going to really give some added flavor and added color to that. And then once you add the Cajun broth, the salt, pepper, and the white wine that's in there, that really picks up. They all absorb those flavors, so you're getting a really unique medley of flavors in there. Okay, so this is almost ready. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's before it turns into a simmer or a boil, it forms like a skin on there. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's how you know, because it's trapping in that heat, and then it's just going to start simmering, and then we're going to add in our grits slowly. Okay, so now, as I was saying, at Lock 15, we try to use everything. We try to have no waste. I use the parsley stems in our parsley, for our parsley. Basil, we try to use the whole stem. We try not to waste anything that we can. All right, even with the scallions, I'm going to go as low as I possibly can with this. And the scallion is our garnish for the shrimp and grits. Okay, so I'm going to get this even here. I'll use it here in a second. So same thing. We're going to cut this on a bias. Bias always looks better.
So the bias is just that angle cut.
Okay, and that's going to look really nice on the dish. Okay, so I'll cook this. Sorry. There's that, and then I'll try to get down as far as I can. Now this is the pungent part, but that's okay because once it mixes in there, it's always adding flavor to the dish. All right, now let's go back to the sweet baby tomatoes that we have here. All right, so let's talk about some knife care here really quick. If you have a nice knife at home, whatever you do not put it in the dishwasher. You may think it's safe, but the dishwasher has a lot of knocking around in there. The glasses, the dishes, other silverware. It can damage the knife. So best way to do it is wash it by hand. Wash all your expensive knives by hand. Mild soap, get it on there, clean it, scrub, wipe down both sides. Take a towel and dry it. Certain knives, I don't know if it's Damascus, but certain knives, this is hammered right here, just so I don't know if you can see that, but that's the hammered part of the knife. The Damascus is the waves inside the metal and how it looks. It looks like it's ocean, like swirls and stuff. You definitely want to dry these off, especially whenever you're using a Japanese knife and you cut with citrus. Wipe that off because it will start to leave spots on it that you cannot get off later. Okay, so make sure you're doing that. Again, so I just did the Swiss chard and I did the scallions. I'm going to steal my knife for the tomatoes. Okay, and I think we're almost ready. So it's almost there, so you can see what I was saying earlier about that skin. Now, the only thing you have to worry about this, the reason why I kept stirring it, was because I don't want the cream to scorch to the bottom of the pan. And you'll know if you're scorching cream, you're instantly going to smell it. You're going to have to discard all this and throw it out. That's why everything is on a low or a medium heat to get this to a simmer. Then you add in the grits, and then we'll go from there, okay? Any questions about what we have going on here? Once the grits get in there, it's going to take about 25 to 30 minutes. And then the best way to do it is the whisk is going to stand straight up inside the grits, and that's when you know they're going to be done. Okay, let's talk about them. All right, one of our main staples in our shrimp and grits is our shrimp broth. Okay, so you grab the peels, grab the water. If you've ever made a shrimps or a beef stock, chicken stock at home, it's the same principle. Water, mirepoix, which is celery, carrots, and onions, your flavorings, you get that down, cook that down to get to the flavor that you're looking for, and then bam, you got shrimp broth. But if you can't do that at home, every store, Giant Eagle, Heinz, Bueller's, I think even IJ and Acme sell
Walmart should too.
Walmart sells a seafood base, clam base, mussel base. It doesn't matter. You can use any one of those that you need in there to make a quick broth. Just follow the back of the directions, and that would be an awesome way to get more seafood flavor incorporated into your dish. All right, Summer, I think these are ready. So, all right, so you see how it's a low simmer? You see those bubbles? That's exactly what you want, okay? Now, this is where you have to be careful. You do not want to add all your grits in at once, because you add them all at once, it's going to come up, it could splash right and blow up in your face like a little bomb, okay? So we don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna start them off slow. And don't mind if there's extra water in there, that's okay. All right, I'm just gonna give them a quick twist. or stir. All right, get this lower in here.
You definitely want to be careful not to have it splash back at you.
It's very hot.
And it sticks and burns.
And again, if you've never had, now, if you only have instant grits at home, the best thing to do is to follow the instructions with the instant grits. But you can still add in all these flavors with the grits. That's the great thing about it. It's very versatile. It's just like instant mashed potatoes. You know, you can just follow the directions and you can add any flavoring you want. You know, if you can't go out and get this, but you have that sitting inside the house, you're good. Use the instant grits. Try to get out all this that I can. I don't want to waste it. Okay. All right. Now this is the part where it gets boring for my prep cooks, because they got like 18,000 items to do, and then they gotta make sure this is in. Okay, so look, you can't tell now, but you see all the grits rising. There's a lot of stuff that has started to go to the bottom, but it already started to get tight at the bottom of the pan. They're already absorbing those the cream and flavorings in it. That's exactly what you want. So this is going to take about, like I said, 25 to 30 minutes, and hopefully you're gonna be able to see the different stages of what the grits actually look like as they're absorbing the water. It's the only time I think it's science. Everybody says food science, but to a point. All right.
You're also probably gonna turn your heat down there as well,
yeah,
correct?
So which I did already.
Yes.
Okay, so I turned it down, and we're gonna let it's gonna cook pretty good for us. Okay, so if you ever cut an onion, a shallot is in the onion family. It doesn't have the bite. It's a little bit more sweetness to it. Okay, so same principle. That's your core. Okay, so you can cut against that core. All right, so I'm going at a vertical slice motion, okay? Because I want this to be diced, because it's going to go into the main dish. Then I take my knife and I go horizontal, and this is what's going to give us our dicing motion.
And you're not cutting all the way through to the end.
Yeah, because if you do that,
it's a lot harder.
It's a lot harder, and it's not going to stay together, okay? So then, down behind. There's some dice, and if it's not diced, just give it a little quick chop. Bam. Done. Okay. And now, here's what I'll do. I'll finish all this off. Get rid of that core. Okay. There's our shallots. Okay. And this is the board that Jody and her husband are going to taste today. So we're getting all these ingredients ready for when we make the dish from start to finish. All right. So now let's cut tomatoes. Now, you don't have to use baby sweet or the sweet baby tomatoes. You can use Roma tomatoes. You can use beefsteak tomatoes. Whatever tomatoes you have. If you have a garden, you can use whatever tomatoes you like. Just remember, some tomatoes are going to have a different flavor profile. Some tomatoes are going to be juicier. So just be aware that we use these because they absorb the flavor and they don't break down super, or they don't break down all the way. They don't turn to mush. They still have some body, which is what we want in that dish. So all we do with our shrimp and grits, I got to take care of this knife because I'm borrowing one of my other chef's knives. I forgot mine. So just it's going to go half. That's all we're going to do, okay? Half the knife. And we use a 1/4 cup of tomatoes in each shrimp and grit. So right now we're going through about 12 cases of sweet baby tomatoes a week right now, because we use them in our steak salad, we use them in our shrimp and grits, we use them in our lox salad, our salsa, our mango corn salsa, our farro salad. So again, we try to cross utilize everything and keep Ohio moving, man. Now, there are tricks. I'm very old fashioned. I don't like to put, some of my staff can take, they put one plate down and then another plate on top of those tomatoes and cut them all at once. I'm not that skilled. I can't do that. I'd just rather do it old school way. Okay, so now look at the grits. So this is one stage right here. You can already see that cream is being soaked in to all the grits. Okay, now I turn it down just a little because I had it a little too high right there. But as you can see, you can start to see more corn coming up to the top. The jalapenos are staying back up at the top, and the corn kernels are up at the top. So this is a good sign right here. Okay, so what I did for you was I got some grits that are a little dry. So these are grits that I set aside, let them dry out. So these are already made grits, and I wanted to show you how you can reconstitute them. So when you're at home, you don't have to panic if you think the grits are too high. That's okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add a little bit of half and half to them. Or if you only have heavy cream, you can add heavy cream. I got to go get.
No, but you can.
I got to go get heavy cream. I'll be right back.
One thing I was going to say, when you guys are cutting tomatoes, you want to make sure your knife's super sharp, because if you don't, you're going to get stuck on the tomato. It's going to roll. It's easier to get cut. That's one thing that at home, it's a little bit harder. Like you were saying with that sharpener, it really helps to have a very sharp knife.
Okay. Back with the heavy whipping cream here. All right, so you don't have to add a lot. You just got to add enough to make you get these grits to reconstitute or not to be so dry. So I'm looking at maybe half a cup right there. Okay. Turn on to a medium heat. Now what you got to do, you got to make sure all those grits hit that cream. Okay. You don't want them to be too flaky and too dry. Okay. All right. So now here we go with our grits. So you can see how the grits are rising to the top. If you've ever cooked oatmeal, cream of wheat, this is exactly what you're looking for.
So you definitely want to watch that heat on those, because you'll definitely burn them easily. So just make sure you're watching your heat and you're stirring consistently.
Chef John, can you tell us one more time how you make the shrimp broth if you're trying to make it from home?
Yes. Okay. So with the shrimp broth, you can go to Giant Eagle, Walmart, Acme, Buehler's, Heinen's. They should have seafood base, shrimp base, clam base. They should have something in there. And what you want to do is you want to follow the directions on the back of that jar. Now, you can change it up and you can go buy a can of clam juice. And you can use the clam juice in here. That will change the flavor slightly. But that's another way to infuse more seafood flavor into here. So you're going to have shrimp, the clam flavor, the white wine, the garlic, the shallots, the tomato flavor. So that's the best way to do if you can't make a traditional stock at home. Now, some are here. Let's show them this one. It's already starting to come down again or reduce, which is awesome. Okay.
So for the shrimp base, you can just, the package is just like water in the shrimp base. It'll end up having you heat up the water, adding the shrimp base into it till you get your stock, and it'll be like the flavor profile you're looking for. If you don't have shrimp base, you can use, the shells of shrimp and stuff like that and make a traditional stock. There's all different options there.
Okay, so you see how these came right back to life? Now, when you bring them back to life, the one thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to check them for salt and pepper. Okay, so you can just add a little pinch of salt and pepper. Give that a nice mix, and these are good to go now. So I'll bring them back up to temp. I just wanted to show you how to reconstitute grits, just because they look a little dry, because they're going to get dry when you put them in your refrigerator and you saran wrap them in whatever tub you put them in. They're going to be a little dry. You're going to have to reconstitute them to bring back some of that creamy texture. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's that. And then we have, this is another stage right here. Jody, can you see all that? Okay. All right. So you notice how the cream is now just starting to really evaporate in there. That's off. That is exactly what you're looking for. And I'm taking the whisk and I'm going around the bottom in like a figure 8 motion, going all over to make sure there's nothing completely sticking to the bottom of the pan, because we do not want this to burn. And because it will be incorporated into all your grits, and it will be a waste.
Yeah, you'll definitely get the burnt flavor if you burn it at any point in the process, unfortunately. Very unforgiving in that sense.
So as you can see, it's starting to really dissolve in there. We're getting these cooked a little bit faster. That's kept the heat on a little high, so that's my bad, but we caught it. That's why you have summer here.
Yep.
Okay, and so you know they're not done because it's nowhere near standing. But as you can see from when we enter the grits to where they're at now, they are going in the right direction.
That's one of our tells of whether the grits are done is if your whisk can stand straight up within the grits, which will show you more towards the end of the process.
So we reconstituted these. All right, I'm going to set these aside. That's enough for 2 orders. So this is going to be for Jody and her husband. That's going to be 2 orders for them. I'm going to let them sit, and we're going to get started on the basis of how we make our shrimp and grits from start to finish while I'm watching those grits not burn. So we're making them in 2 separate saute pans. I don't like making them in the same pan when I don't have to.
Which you can. It's just easier for us when we're doing them to order. We know that each person is getting the same amount of, garlic and shallots, the proper amount that we were looking for. But at home, you guys can absolutely just put it all together.
Okay, so what we have here is our La Padilla sauteing oil. So it has a couple of different oils in there, and it's great for sauteing because it has great flavor and it has a great smoke point. So that's what you're really looking for. Then this is our white wine. Now, could you use the wine that Jody is drinking to saute your shrimp and grits in? Absolutely. Is it going? You don't want to waste it. No, you don't want to waste it. But we back here to keep it going. If you're at home, you got a great bottle of white wine. Use it in the dish. It's going to really enhance it. It's going to be great flavors. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn both pans on. Now,
Tell us what oils are in that saute oil.
yes, you have olive oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, I think avocado oil in here.
I think so, yes. But you can always just use a blended oil or even just normal olive oil. Doesn't make too much of a difference. It just has a higher smoke point for us when we're cooking other things as well.
Okay, so I have my chopped garlic right here.
We're gonna stir these grits real quick. This is where you're starting to get into that process of where it gets real little shady and burning, and you want to make sure you're stirring consistently.
As you can see, it's going to start standing up there, but it's nowhere near done yet. You can tell by where the cream is at, everything else. And again, when these are done, you may say to yourself, there's not enough salt and pepper. That's okay. If you feel like you need to add more salt and pepper, add it not there, but add it right when you go to make the shrimp and grits. Because if you add it right then and there, then you're not going to be able to add more salt and pepper when you're making the dish. That's where you're going to run into trouble, where it will be over seasoned. It will be too salty, okay? Because garlic is a salt enhancer. So we add garlic in almost everything we do here at Lock 15. Our dressings, our salsas, our sauces, it has garlic in everything, okay? I'm going to turn that
Oil
down just a little bit. Okay. All right, so now we got our pan going. All right, so the first thing we got to do is we're going to add our shrimp, which we use 3140 shrimp. Okay, tails off, already cleaned in the vein. Okay, this is farm raised. Okay, and then the thing we do is we Cajun our shrimp before we put it in there. Okay, and you want a generous coating of shrimp Cajun on here.
So we like to use the tails off because it's just easier for our guests to eat, we feel.
And less waste.
And less waste as well. And you can use those tails and those shells and stocks and stuff like that. So it's just more universal and it's just easier presentation and consumption.
So we portion our shrimp out. We just don't leave it in a bowl like that. Each order gets 12 shrimp. I just add this one in here. Okay. Now the great thing about this is our Cajun is a sweet heat. It is not too spicy, but it does have some great flavor in there. Again, the reason why it's in there is because we want you to be able to drink, have another beer, another glass of wine. So now you see all the fond going to the bottom of the pan. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I need that to go. I need that to be part of the pan because that actually makes the shrimp broth itself. That really enhances the flavor.
So that's when some of your seasonings and things will stick to the bottom of the pan. It's some of where most of your flavor comes from when you're cooking, and when you deglaze, it'll come up really nicely into your dish.
Okay, so what we do here is once we flip them, okay, we flip those, then we're going to add our garlic and shallot. Okay.
And we're at about a medium-high heat right now.
So when we saute our garlic and shallots off, we're sauteing them just enough to make them aromatic. If you go any farther than that, the garlic and shallots, especially the garlic, are going to start to burn, and that leaves a bitter taste into your into the shrimp and grits. So look at all that fond right there. That's, I mean, starting to caramelize onto the shrimp. Shrimp is nowhere near cooked yet, so everything is looking really, really good to really enhance it. So now, can you guys smell the garlic? So that's when we're going to add in our white wine and our tomato.
You're adding about
Quarter cup.
quarter cup of wine just to deglaze, like I was talking about earlier, to bring up that fond. We did about a tablespoon of each garlic and shallots, about a quarter cup as well of the sweet basil.
Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to get this to really get some of that flavor from the tomatoes and white wine. Okay. Now we add 6 ounces of our shrimp broth. Bring that up to a boil. We add our Swiss chard. We're going to cook that in there as it's going. And then we bring that to simmer. That's it. All right, let's go back to the grits. All right, so check the teeth. So it's amazing how when you're making something with liquid and then you're adding grits, oatmeal, mashed, how it just absorbs everything. We're almost there. We got about another 8 minutes. Okay, so almost 8 minutes. These will be done, and then these are your. That's how you make our jalapeno corn grits here at Lock 15 Brewing Co. Okay. And again, I'm constantly stirring these. I'm stirring the sides, trying to get into the rim down here on the pot. Okay. Nice and creamy. Okay. Now, this pretty much is heating up through. Get a nice little toss. Okay, so I'm gonna let that come to a slight simmer. Let it go for about 30 seconds. Get this one up here, and then we're gonna plate their dish. Okay, so if you've never been to Lock 15, we use a lot of stuff that ties into the elements. So you're gonna see a lot of wood, a lot of metal. Our plates are actually, they have a stone in them. Everything ties into the elements. It's what Colin and Joe wanted. They wanted to just really focus on the community, focus on earth, and all this ties into that. So you're not going to see, you know, a lot of stuff that's not going to be good for the earth. So we try to really have fun with our plating, especially when we get really nice dishes that we create. To really try to figure out how to plate them in all of our different plates. And this bowl right here we use for a lot of our dishes right here. This is what we call our large wok, and it does our shrimp and grits. What else is it? We used to do a lot of.
We have a couple different sizes. So this one does our shrimp and grits. Our medium-sized one does our hot tots, our ghost pepper mac and cheese, our mussels. And then if you guys get a side of our grits here, you'll get a small wok of them. So
Okay, so I'm just reheating these grits up here. Okay. Now, let's look at this right here. Almost, I can tell by when I put them in.
and you'll feel as you're going like the thickness, and you'll feel it getting heavier. So see, it's like standing up.
Perfect. So the grits are pretty much done. So what we have to do just to make sure that I don't look goofy in front of my staff when they pull out the grits.
So you always want to do a little taste test of the grits just to make sure that gritty texture is gone, and that they are fully cooked. The whisk test definitely gets you really, really close to being done. Sometimes you need to go just a little bit more, but it should be relatively just about there.
We got another 5 minutes on them. I had a nice corn kernel, but the grits aren't. They have a little more of a bite than I want to. So we're gonna give them 5 more minutes, and then they should be perfect.
So we try to get them like super fluffy. It's kind of what you're going for. You don't want too much texture besides the corn and the jalapeno that you're gonna get that flavor.
Okay, so Jody and her husband's dishes are done. So what I'm gonna do now is this is how we plate our shrimp and grits, actually. So I got 2 portions of grits right here. Put that right in the center. Okay. And then we finish it off with our scallions.
Those scallions will give you that nice little freshness to all the heat, like temperature wise and stuff like that for you.
And I'm gonna come around this.
And then, okay. So our grits are getting there. Does anybody else have any other questions?
All right, so we're gonna check the grits one more time. I'll give them another taste test. Okay. Turn them off. All right, Jody and her lovely husband are about to try the shrimp and grits.
All right.
Sorry, everybody. I know it's been a There's a lot of flavor. Molto bene.
Thank you. All right.
What do you think? Yeah, that's the cream. Yeah, it's that fat. It makes it look like, makes it taste like you're eating very simple dish. We try to tell I try to teach my chefs that you want no more than 3 to 4 flavor profiles on the dish. Other than that, it's overwhelming for the palate. So keep that in mind whenever you're making a dish. Don't overthink it. Keep it simple. 3 to 4 flavors in a dish. If you got to go 5, 6, 7, 8 different flavor profiles, you're gonna lose what you're looking for, what you're trying to get out of that dish. Let's just think about it. We have shrimp broth, shrimp, same. We have garlic shallots, white wine. That's all, and the grits. It's all we have. That's all your flavor profile. That's your base. So again, keeping it simple. You don't want to overwhelm your guests. You want your guests to be able to come in and sit down and make them feel like they're eating something their grandmother or their mom. You want people to go back to their childhood when they enjoyed probably some of the best food they've ever had, or something that reminds them of a great journey in life. And that's what we should do. Thank you.
The Bouvray.
Thank you.
Somebody said your kitchen is so clean and tidy. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. We appreciate that. We strive to be clean, especially in today's climate and with what's going on. My staff, I love my staff. We have one of the best staffs in Akron, front and back. They are as good out front as we are on the back. But we take pride in keeping the kitchen clean. Our walk-in is organized, and if you would see my walk-in, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't think that this was a production kitchen. We take a lot of pride in that. So does my staff. So
I knew you'd like that one.
that makes me happy that you guys notice.
Chef John, can you tell us what your hours are right now? If they're normal,
hours.
people can come
Okay,
try
so
first?
yes, our hours. Okay, so we're closed every Monday. Sunday we're open up from 11 till 9. Okay, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we close at 10, but we have a hard pull of alcohol at 11. So if you
11 p.m.
If you ordered a drink or you're finishing a beer, you have until 11 o'clock to finish that. If it's not done, we will pull that beer from you. And that's not something that we want to do, but that's what we've been mandated to do. We're just following the laws. We're trying to make sure that our staff, our owners still have a livelihood to come to each and every day. Again, we're still here. We're still open. We are out with Feed Your Neighbors. We are here for you guys. So whenever you're ready to come in and eat, look for us here. Chef Summer's here. I'm here. Ari, Jess, Angie, Hannah, Caitlin, Ronell, Matt, Tim, David, Brett, Caitlin. Who else?
Doug.
Doug.
The
Doug's
whole
new
crew.
guy, Matt, Mahaley, if he ever comes back. We're all here, guys. My staff loves and takes pride in making sure that you guys are satisfied.
And we open up at 10 a.m. on those days as well. And yes, we do have a patio. It's actually very large. Oh, I'm sorry, 11 a.m. Yes. We open at 11 a.m. Tuesday through Sunday.
And we are dog friendly.
Yes.
So if you have a dog, you just make
Out
sure you don't,
on the patio.
Yeah, outside on the patio. Make sure you don't walk them through the dining room. Make sure you walk. There's a little spot that you can get into the patio from the back corner. We want to make sure that if the dog sees another guest, they don't get all anxiety attacked on them.
Wound up.
So, what else? What else can I help you with?
I think that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
We did have a quick question. Is everything in this dish gluten-free?
So let's see. The grits are gluten-free. The shrimp broth is gluten-free. Everything in that dish is gluten-free.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chef John and Summer and Jody and her husband Ned for giving us the live commentary. We all enjoyed this very much, and from the comments, it looks like everyone's excited to try this and to come visit you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.